how to make this crocheted rainbow. I'm Alex from Moho Crafts, hello, and I'm going to show you how you can do this. This is one of my original patterns. You can find it on Facebook, it's on Ravelry, so all over it, show really. Right, so I'm going to show you how to make it, and I'm going to use chunky, just so that you can see the stitches a little bit easier. You can make it in any yarn weight that you fancy. Here's one done in double knit in the Serdar Happy Cotton with a little laser cut name attached to it. There's one here, this is in the Serdar Happy Chenille. But we'll have a go with this today, just so that you can see everything a bit clearer. So we're going to start off with a slip knot like we normally would. I'm using chunky yarn, and I'm going to be using a 7mm hook because you know I like chunky yarn and big sticks. So the pattern says chain 13. The first version of the pattern, if you've got an older one, says chain 15. I've changed it to 13 on this one just so that you get a bit of a straighter edge along here, particularly if you're using the chunky or the chenille yarn. Some of the ones with 15 were just curving round a bit more, but whatever you fancy. So we're going to chain 13. There you go, lovely. So we're starting in this bit here, so we're starting down here in the armpit of the rainbow, let's call it. So that's why we're starting with the purple. So we've got our 13. Now the next instruction says working into the second chain from the hook. So we never count the one on your hook, that's your working loop. So that's one, so that's two. And it says do a double crochet into that one and a double crochet into each chain to the end of the row. Right, so I've done that first bit now. So the next instruction says chain 3. This counts as your first stitch. Now it then says, and it says this bit in capital letters, it says working in the back loop only. So if you look down here, so here's the row of doubles that you've just made, and along the top you've got these two rows. You've got the back loops there and the front loops there. So instead of like we would do if we were crocheting normally, we'd put it through there underneath both of them, we're going to put it just in the middle of that V and out of the back one, so that we're going in the back loop only. So it says work treble crochet into the stitch at the base of the chain. So we've got 1, 2, 3 counts as the chain, so I'm going to go into this back loop only. So for this round, for the purple, we're going to be doing 2 stitches into one, so 2 trebles into one, 1 into the next, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. So those are my first 2, and then 1 into the next one, and then it's 2 trebles into the next one, 1 into the one after that, all the way around. Right, so I've come to the last stitch on that first row. It then says flip the work. Now some people are getting a bit confused with what this involves, so let me show you. Here you've got the row that you've just done, and then you've got this row, this sort of raised ridge of stitches down here following your rainbow shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to work into these. This is your front loops that you've not worked into. So you flip it this way, so you've kind of turned it upside down, so it looks like a happy smile now. Now if I find it a bit easier if I sort of fold it back to raise that ridge up there, and then I can see where I'm working to. So I finished on a 1, so I'm going to start with 2 into the first one, 1 into the next one, and I'm going to do that all the way down to the other end. So I'm at the last stitch now, and I've finished on a 1, so I've finished my rotation. So I'm now going to do a slip stitch up here. You can do it in the gap between the chain and your first stitch if you want to, but I like to just go in the top of that stitch there, because I find you get a nice tight join. Snip it off and fasten that off there. Lovely. Now we're not even going to sew our ends in on this, we're that wild. We are living on the edge. So there's your first round of your rainbow. So let's get rid of the purple. So the next colour we're going to go for is blue. Now the instructions say join the next colour at the opposite end of the shape that you've just made. So we're going to join this side here. So I like to turn my work when I'm working, so I am going to be working into this way around. So I'm going to be putting my hook in the back of the stitches effectively. I find it just a bit easier. So no slip stitch or anything to join, just like we normally would. Put your hook through, hook it, pull it through and do your chain. 1, 2, 3. So that counts as your first stitch. So this round we're going to have an increase, then 1 normal stitch, 1 normal stitch, and then increase. So it's 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1 all the way around. So we do another one into the base at the turning chain, so that counts as my first 2. Now if you want to work over your ends a little bit, just hold them in line there, and you can sew over them a little bit just so that you're starting to sew them in, but it doesn't matter massively. So that's 2, 1, and then 1 more. And then you just carry on with that pattern all the way around. So 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. When you get to this end, you just keep working around it until you end up back here. All right, I'll race you. When you get to this end, just work over the stitch where you did your join, and then if you work over your purple end for a couple of stitches, that'll tuck that in nice and neat. And I'm back to my end there, so that's all my stitches done. So slip stitch join, snip it off. Right, so that is the purple and the blue done. So then we're on to green. See if I can find that. So I'm going to go with a lovely green now. Just say as well, what I'm using, it's Hayfield Bonus Chunky from Sirdar. I love it. It's a right chunky. So last time I worked around the edge of it, so that means that as I turn my work, I'm going to be working around the inside of it now. Starting the stitch at the opposite end again, so no slip knot or anything. Hook through, catch it, bring it through. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Oh, hang on, my yarn's all over it, sure. Right, so this round, so last round we had increase 1, 1. So this round it's going to be increase 1, 1, 1, increase 1, 1, 1. So 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. So I've done my 2. So then it's 1, 1, 1, and that's your repeat all the way around. So 2, 1, 1, 1. All right. See you at the end. Okay, so end of this round, slip stitch join, snip it off, fasten it off. Right, so we're going to do the same for the next 3 rounds. So we've got to go with I'm going to go with yellow, orange and red. Now an easy way to work out what your repeat of stitches is that in your first colour, between the increases, you only had 1 stitch. Your second colour, between the increases, you had 2 stitches. Third colour, 3. So the fourth colour will be increase and then 4 stitches. Fifth colour will be increase and 5 stitches. Sixth colour will be increase and 6 stitches. So I'm going to do this, but I will fast forward to the point where I've finished the red round and then show you how to sew it up. Alright, see you there. Right, so I've got to the end of my final round of red. And I've got to here. Now if you want to make it bigger, you can obviously just keep going and going and going and just follow the pattern of increasing the number of trebles between your increases where you 2 into 1 stitch. But we're going to stop here and I'm going to show you how you do a seam up this edge. So what we need to make sure is that all our ends are sort of sitting on the inside of your little pasty there. Tuck them in. Now the instructions say to do a double crochet seam working up the inside loops. So if you look along here, you've got your 2 edges, you've got your outside loops there, inside loop there, so that's your inside loop and your outside loop. So we're going to try and pick up 1 from each side. Now we should be at like a bottom bit there at a peak, so we pick up 1 from this side, squidge that out of the way, pick up 1 from that side, so I'm joining them together and do a double crochet. So we go, so that's 1, let's pick up number 2 and number 3 there, and do a double crochet. So I'm going to do this over the top until it's about halfway along the edge, and then we'll put some stuffing in. You don't need a lot of stuffing because they're in treble crochets. If you put too much stuffing in, it'll start to burst out of your holes and you'll get stuffing leakage, and nobody likes leaky holes. So we're just going to put a little amount in just to pad it out a little bit. If you want it to be stiffer and flatter, you could just put in a piece of card or something, or depending on how tight your tension is, you might not even need anything. So we just keep going up here. So it's pick up 1, pick up 2, double crochet. I like the double crochet seam instead of a slip stitch seam just because it gives it a bit of a higher profile. Just sort of raises it up and gives it a nice little edge there. So we go 1, 2 and double. Carry on. So we're nearly about halfway there. Just do a couple more and we'll get some stuff in. So I'm using recycled stuffing in that it's from an old cushion. If I was making a toy for a child, then you need to use proper toy stuffing, but because this is just going to be a decorative thing hung in the window, I'm just using recycled stuffing. So I've got some here. It's a little bit natty, but it's out of an old cushion, so we can just kind of drag it around a bit and fluff it up a bit. There we go. So what we're going to do is you want to stuff it and make sure that it gets right into the corners so you don't have saggy bits. So pass it right in. It's a good Lancashire word for you. Right, so I've passed it into my corners, give it a bit of a fettle, another good Lancashire term for you. My grandma would be proud. Right, so drag it around a bit. Get rid of that bit, that's a bit manky. Right, and shove a bit more in. So you can see it's not kind of pushing my holes off. You start to see some stuff in through some of it, but it's not kind of like gaping and stretching like that. Let's do a bit more. Shove that in there. That's it. Right, let's go back to our seam. Right, so when you've got a hole just about big enough to get your fingers in, get your last bit of stuff in, drag it about a bit, fluff it up, shove a bit of that in. Make sure you get some to match up with your other bit. Really good fertile. Down there. How's that looking? Correct then, and then you close it up and fasten it off with just a little slip stitch. So we'll just do these last few. Now if you've got 2 left at the end, happy days. If you've got 1 left, right, like me, I'm just going to pick up that last one and just do a slip stitch and snip it off. Wrap it round there. Right, so one of them. So with your ends, we don't need to do anything too elaborate. We're just going to stick them in. So I've got this lovely yarn needle here. So easy when you're using the chunky. So just kind of, you don't even need to properly sew it in. Just do it so it's in the inside. Pull it up a bit tighter, snip it, and I'll suck that back in. Disappeared. Lovely. Same with the red. Just go down through there. Obviously, if I was doing something where the back would show, then I would clearly sew these in very neatly. But I'm not, so it's all good. Right, so I've then got a little bit of green ribbon that I'm going to use as my hangy loop. So I'll snip a bit off there. Oh. Thread it through my yarn needle. So you need to make sure you find the midpoint on this, because otherwise it'll hang a bit skew width, unless you want it hanging skew width, that's fine. So fold your edges together, follow it up, and I reckon I'm about there. So I will go through from the back and then back through to the back, like that. Get your ribbon so it's sitting nice and flat. This is a bit plasticky, this ribbon, but it's quite nice and bright, so I will bear with it. Right, tie a little overhand knot around the two ends together, like that. Poke it through. Now don't trim off your ends, because what we can do is we thread these carefully onto your yarn needle. You find the sort of the nearest decent sized hole and thread it through there. Oh, I've missed one. Little monkey. Let's put that back in there. And then pull it down. It should split that yarn a bit there. Yeah, cocking this up. Right, there we go. All good. So you can make it so it sucks your knot in. And then if we just pull them up, snip that off a bit there. Bit of extra yarn, come on. No probs. There we go. You've got your beautiful little rainbow. All done and dusted, ready to hang in your window or wherever you fancy it. Right, thank you. Bye-bye.